Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, "I'm keeping the garlic." The original OP is Living in Fear Mom posted an r/True Off My Chest, April 10th, 2023. This post also contains a new update 2.5 years later. My son's friend's parents want to adopt him. Note that all names have been changed to protect everyone involved. I, 24 female, am a single mom to my son, Owen, 8. It's been just us since day one. His father isn't in the picture and has been able to avoid child support for years now. Yes, I've tried everything. My own parents disown me. I had to drop out of high school and have worked a myriad of jobs since then to keep us afloat. We aren't on the poverty line by any means, but we definitely live paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. It's not ideal, and I hope within the next couple of years we'll be someplace bigger. But for now, it's our situation. I've raised Owen to know that money isn't everything. We may not have a lot. He won't always have the newest this or that, but we have each other. The two of us are very close. He's never gone without the basics, but I admit, he doesn't get a lot of fun extras. I try to save a little here and there to make birthdays and holidays fun, but it's still never anything glamorous. And I think Owen was fine with that. Until recently, anyway. In our area, all the public schools are based on a lottery system, so your child has a fair shot of going to any of them, so long as you put in their name. Our neighborhood school is not great and in a pretty crappy area, so I decided to put him in a different one across town. It's near my job, so it works out. Last year, when he was in 2nd grade, he met Charlie. They began hanging out a lot after school, with Owen going to his place. I met Charlie's parents, Nate and Paige, a couple of times before this began. They seemed very nice and supportive. Owen always had a great time at their house. Charlie occasionally came to our apartment, but usually they were at his place, which made sense. I work, and there's really not much for them to do here, even when I'm off. Summer breaks are easy to find care, as there are several free or low-cost camps that I can put Owen in. It's the shorter breaks, such as Christmas and spring, that are harder. Camp space is limited. Spring break of 2022, I managed to just miss registration. Paige is a stay-at-home mom and offered to take Owen for the week. I was hesitant to ask so much of her, but she insisted. He had a really fun time with them. They did a ton of activities, and Paige refused my attempts to pay her back at least some. I couldn't afford all. I admit I did feel a tad uncomfortable with her spending this much on my son, but at the same time, I didn't want to deprive Owen of this stuff. Summer came, and while I did get Owen into camp, he spent a ton of time with Charlie as well. He ended up going on vacation with them. I was, again, very hesitant, but the experience was something I could never give Owen. And it wasn't too far away. He had a blast. I kept telling Nate and Paige that there's no way I could ever pay them back, and they kept insisting that they loved having Owen around. They told me what a great kid he is, sweet and respectful. At one point, I really pressed Paige as to why she was so insistent on having Owen around so much. That's when she told me that they never planned for Charlie to be an only child, but all attempts at giving him a sibling just didn't happen. They know that Owen will never make up for not having a brother, but if they can give him a constant playmate so he's not lonely, they'll do it. Should this have been a red flag? Maybe, but at the same time, I found it sweet that the boys considered each other brothers. I thought it was innocent. Surely Paige and Nate knew the truth. Right? This continued for a bit, and come Christmas break of 2022, Paige and Nate insisted that I not even bother to try to get Owen into a camp. They'd take care of him for me. I was grateful. They ended up getting him more Christmas gifts than I did. I tried to set my pride aside because it was about Owen, not me. This is still when things finally started seeming off to me. I understood a gift on his birthday, and while they didn't get him as many gifts as they got Charlie, it was a lot more than you would typically get for your kid's friend. Fast forward to now. Spring break was last week, and this time, Paige and Nate didn't just offer to take care of him during the day while I worked. They asked if Owen could spend the entire week at their house. Honestly, it meant I could pick up some more shifts and save up for the bike Owen wants for his birthday. So I said yes. I went to pick him up on Saturday afternoon. The kids were playing out back, so Nate and Paige asked to talk to me. They sat me down and said they love Owen, and he's always such a joy to have. I thanked them profusely for all they'd done for him. Paige suggested that Owen stay a little longer. I pointed out Easter was Sunday, plus school started up on Monday. They said they could take him to school. I felt weird and said no, it was time for Owen to come home. That's when Nate suggested that Owen stay with them long term. I could still see him, but they would take care of him. I thought they were joking and said, like, what, you'd be his guardians or something? They got quiet, and the reality rushed over me. I pointed out that this wasn't a movie. They can't just get custody. They started spouting some legal stuff about how I could assign them as guardians, and they would help make this transition smooth. They told me to think about Owen and what's best for him. I told them there was no way in hell I was going to give up my son. I grabbed Owen, and we left. I've blocked their numbers. Owen has no clue what's going on. I'm keeping him home tomorrow and took the day off work to figure some stuff out. Legally, they can't take him. But now, I know what they want, and I'm terrified. I don't want him to go back to that school. Do we move? I'm so lost, and I feel so stupid because looking back, all the warning signs were there. I know Owen is going to be devastated losing Charlie, Paige, and Nate. How am I ever going to explain it to him? Relevant comments in response to some now removed accusations of neglect. I can take care of my kid. He's never gone hungry. The lights are always on. He has clothes, albeit sometimes from Goodwill or donations. We lived in our car briefly when I was 17, but I pulled us out of that situation and will never be in that place again. I have health insurance. He goes to the doctor, has his vaccines. He just doesn't have an iPad or summer vacations. What he does have is love. His favorite stuffed giraffe that I got him when I was pregnant. A love for the park. He isn't deprived. He has a good life. I love him, and I'm never giving him up. Opie responding to, maybe those parents have been turned down by foster/adoption agencies. I've suspected this too. It seems like they don't want another child. They want Charlie to have a permanent playmate/buddy. And I don't know much about the system, but if they were as honest as they were with me, I could see them turned down. Update in the comments later that day. Post won't let me update directly, so here it is in the comments. Update. There's no way I can respond to everyone, so I just want to say thank you for the advice. While I understand those saying they potentially meant well and weren't trying to be offensive, it's still a risk I can't take. It's not like they offered to take him every so often. They wanted him full-time, permanently. To those who said I should just let them, please pass me whatever drugs you are on. I will never give up my son. Do we have the newest this or that? No! We have our needs met. I love my son, and I am not letting him go. As for everyone else, I took your advice and reached out to the school. I told them that Paige and Nate are no longer allowed to pick up Owen and explained I do not feel safe with them around each other. They understood. There's not much they can do outside making sure they never pick him up. It's too late in the year to move classes, but next year, Charlie and Owen will not be in the same class. I notified the police, but again, they can't do much. We have zero in writing, and a simple request to have my child isn't really breaking any laws. Unfortunately, all I can do is hope they don't try anything. I still haven't spoken to Owen. I think it's fine if he talks to Charlie and plays with him at school, but I have to find a way to explain why they can't have playdates or sleepovers, as well as never go anywhere near Nate and Paige. I guess that'll come in time. I'll update again if anything happens. I'm hoping this is the end, as some of Nate and Paige's defenders said, they did take my note well, so hopefully they realize how totally out of bounds they were and leave us alone. Update 2. Comments, but it only shows up on OP's profile, April 11th, 2023, the next day. Monday night, I talked to Owen and explained that Nate and Paige were not safe. He was confused, and I explained that they wanted to take him away from me. I think it spooked him, as he started crying, saying he didn't want to leave me and he didn't want to see them again. I held him and assured him he wasn't going anywhere. He understands he's never to go anywhere with them and that the school is taking measures to protect him. I said he could still talk and play with Charlie at school. He said he doesn't want to. I was honestly worried he'd hate me, but you all were right. Telling him the full story made him realize how serious it was. He understands the gifts and trips will stop, and says he's alright with it. Also, I wanted to address one last thing. I've gotten a few people offering me money or gifts. Please do not do that. I am very appreciative, but that was not the purpose of this post. If you wish to do something, donate to your local shelter or other charity. Owen and I are not in need. I'd rather see it go to people who need it. I didn't see Nate or Paige at drop-off, nor have I gotten any contact, but then again, I did block them everywhere. Thank you all for your help. I'll update if anything else happens. Hopefully it won't. Update, April 14th, 2023, 4 days later. I've tried to post this update and chew off my chest, but it keeps getting auto-deleted. Since I have so many followers, I figured I'd update here, and hopefully it gets around. Well, what everyone feared would happen, did. Tuesday, he returned to school. I told him he could still talk with and play with Charlie. I was hesitant to drop him off, but figured you can't live in fear. Most afternoons, my son takes the bus to a local rec center for aftercare. I had already told the school everything and that Nate and Paige were not to pick Owen up. I managed to call and even make sure he got on the bus. Aftercare was also made aware of the change in pickup list. Well, a half hour later, I get a call that Paige had tried to pick up my son. The front desk refused to release him. Didn't say why, just that she was no longer on the list. She wouldn't leave, and the police were called. She was escorted out of the building. While she wasn't brought to jail, there is a police report, and I'm using this to go to court and get an order of protection. Paige and Nate are also banned from the rec center, so if they do show up, they will get arrested for trespassing. The police are working on ways to protect us, and the local social services office has been made aware of the situation. So, should they try to make a claim, they're aware of the situation. Relevant commenter, thank you for the update. I'm pulling for you. Great job on getting your ducks in a row at school and aftercare. They are starting to show their true colors. Please keep a careful eye out and be prepared. Talk with your son some more, and make sure he understands a little better to not leave with them. Opie responds, thank you. I spoke to him Monday evening, so he knew what he was walking into on Tuesday. It freaked him out a lot, and he said he absolutely didn't want to leave me. So he's aware and knows to never go with them. New update. Posted September 28th, 2025, 2.5 years later. An update on our lives, 2 years later. I hadn't realized it had fully been nearly 2.5 years since I gave an update to our lives, but I thought about this whole saga recently. Found the account and realized over 3K plus of you follow this now. Plus, it seems I still get requests for an update. After this happened, I wanted to stay in the area we lived in, if anything because I couldn't afford to move us. I ended up transferring Owen to a different after-school program. He still remained friends with Charlie at school. Apparently, even Charlie would call his parents weird and said he was angry with them for making it so Owen wouldn't go over there after school. The rest of the year passed by awkwardly, but initially, the school did a good job of making sure Nate and Paige were not anywhere near my son. I was told they wouldn't be allowed to volunteer anymore, as Paige often did, prior to everything. Summer soon came. Owen started his usual camps, and I thought all was well. I had initially been told that the boys would not be put in the same class the following year. It had been too late in the year to move either of the boys. But when I brought Owen to school on the first day, I saw Charlie's name on the door. It's a small school and they have a unique last name, so I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I spoke with the principal and was told it was impossible to keep them in separate classes, and there were factors I just couldn't possibly understand. I regretfully didn't fight as hard because I assumed Paige and Nate were still banned from volunteering. It was like a horror movie, receiving a letter from the room moms of the class. A typical letter I receive every year talking about fundraising, volunteering opportunities, when they raise money for teacher gifts, etc. Paige's name was right at the bottom. I once again spoke to the principal and was told that they couldn't keep Paige away from the school. She donated a lot of money, was great with the kids. They said since we had no incidents in 5 months at that point, we had to let it go. I tried to. I thought maybe things have changed. But it brought me so much anxiety every time I thought about that woman near my son. The school was refusing to protect him. What if things hadn't changed? I debated switching schools, but this was the best in our area, and I couldn't afford private. I prepared my son. He said he wouldn't try to go with her and would scream if she tried to take him. Sure enough, first class party of the year. My son said Paige was there, and Owen said she kept trying to talk to him. She kept asking him to come over and even wanted my new phone number. I changed it for obvious reasons after everything went down. Thankfully, Owen knew better, but I just saw the rest of the year flashing before my eyes. Paige finding ways to be around my son, potentially breaking him down. Since the school didn't give a shit, I had nightmares of them letting her kidnap him. I knew we couldn't stay long, but again, I was broke, working a crap job, and I couldn't just pack up and leave. So I started applying to some new jobs out of our city. As it was, I had one job working in retail, but I picked up house cleaning shifts and occasionally some babysitting shifts in between. I took a chance and applied for a live-in nanny position in a city about 3 hours away. I didn't think I'd have a shot at it, especially as I had a kid. But I met with the parents, and they were so kind, so sweet. They were more than happy to let me bring Owen with me and let us live with them. They had an in-law suite I could live in as long as I was working there. It was only one bedroom, but Owen and I were used to that. He was a little sad about leaving his friends, but we jumped at the opportunity. I admit I was nervous to put ourselves in a similar situation as before. What if these people enticed my son and wanted to take him? But thankfully they weren't like that. They were kind to Owen, but they maintained boundaries. I eventually told them our story, and they were horrified that this had ever happened to us, and assured me they would never try to take my son. I was making better money living with them, and since I didn't have rent or utilities to worry about, I was able to save up more than usual. Owen thrived in his new school. The best part was, he got to spend time with me and the little ones I took care of. No more crazy hours, no more after-school programs. After 8 years, we finally caught a break. The family recently outgrew their need for a nanny, but were happy to help me find a new job. This position isn't live-in, but I was able to save up to put a down payment on a condo, something I'd never thought would happen. For the first time in 10 years, Owen has his own room, something that both excited him, but he was also a little scared. With the help of my new bosses, who are now good friends of ours, we were able to decorate, and my new bosses are so kind and again, totally fine with me bringing their baby with me to pick up Owen and having him around. I haven't heard from Nate and Paige since April of 2023. My son occasionally mentions Charlie, and I know he misses his buddy. But he's also relieved about where we are. I hope for Charlie's sake that his parents have calmed down. Maybe they've learned their lesson. If anything, so they won't prey on another woman in my situation. I don't speak to anyone from our old city. No friends there, so I have no way of knowing. Sorry if that's not a fun update. But that's where we are. Happy, healthy, and doing well. I'm 26 now, but many days I feel like I'm 42. I'm in a new relationship now, dating seriously for the first time since Owen was born. I have a group of friends who are also nannies. It took me 8.5 years to gain a support system. Still haven't spoken to my parents. Owen's father will never be a part of the picture, but we finally have a family. Still, he often tells me that if all of it went away like Nate and Paige did, he'd be happy with just us. God, he knows how to make his mama cry. Anyway, thank you all for the support and concern over the years. Much love to you all. Heart emoticon. One of OP's comments. Commenter. Oh, wow. So happy for you. It's horrible how money talks. You must have been unbelievably anxious that whole school year. Wishing you both the best. OP responds, thankfully, I only had to deal with it for a total of about 4 months. Last 2 months of the school year, then the first 2 months of the next. Before I got the new job. Thank you so much. My guess would be is that the things OP couldn't possibly understand as to why Charlie and Owen couldn't be in separate classes is because Paige has quite the checkbook. And it doesn't look good for them to admit that Paige donated a lot of money and therefore they're going to let their morals lax. So it's just things you can't possibly understand. But goddamn, people with money really do think they can just get away with anything, huh? Yeah, we want to adopt Owen so he would be like a pet to Charlie. You know, not like a son, but, like a permanent playmate. then later proceeding to attempt to kidnap him when they didn't get their way. They probably thought that enough money would be able to solve all the problems they had. Well, guess what? It can't, and Charlie lost his best friend because you guys are greedy. I don't understand why they couldn't just have kept the original arrangement and allowed Owen and Charlie to be close. They had a really good thing going between everyone for a pretty good amount of time, but then it suddenly became, wow, we want to keep Owen as a playmate for Charlie. Fucking yikes, dude. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is David B. 1976, posted to r/relationship advice. Originally posted December 5th, 2025. My girlfriend, 25 female, admitted she slept with someone hours before agreeing to be exclusive. I, 26 male, can't tell if I'm overreacting. What's the move here? My girlfriend of 2 years and I were recently having one of those drunk tell me something shocking conversations. Everything was lighthearted until she dropped something that completely rewrote the origin story of how we became a couple. Something I've always held as a romantic and somewhat dramatic beginning. A little over a month into dating, I told her I wanted to be exclusive. Up to that point, everything between us, her behavior, our connection, the way she talked about us, made me feel like she was on the same page. But during that conversation, she suddenly got overwhelmed, said she needed to leave, and basically walked out. I was confused and pretty upset. I went home thinking maybe that was it. A few hours later, she called, said she wanted to talk, and drove to my place. That night, outside my apartment, in the rain, she told me she did want to be in a committed relationship and that she had just needed time to meditate and collect her thoughts. I took it as a cinematic beginning to our relationship. That entire story changed during our recent drunk conversation. She told me that she didn't go home to reflect. She left to go have sex with a dude. Apparently, she met this guy at a party the week we first started going out. They hooked up, and the sex was apparently good enough that she had been hitting him up every few days after. My girlfriend is usually pretty blunt, but this one hurt to hear, especially in context. According to her, when I brought up exclusivity, she suddenly realized that if she agreed on the spot, she wouldn't be able to sleep with him anymore without it being cheating. So she got up, left without an explanation, went to his place, and they had sex for a few hours to get it out of her system. Afterwards, she drove straight to my place to officially start our relationship. She says this wasn't cheating because, technically speaking, we weren't exclusive yet. She also said she never felt guilty about it, but didn't say anything until now because she didn't want to ruin the mythology I'd built around our relationship origin story. A story that I loved bringing up when people asked us how we met. I honestly feel completely blindsided. Even if this wasn't cheating in the strictest technical sense, it feels like a massive betrayal. It was the fact that she effectively scheduled one last hookup before agreeing to be with me. It makes the beginning of a relationship feel tainted, and it makes me question how she views commitment and honesty. Comments. As a grab, she obviously didn't feel about you the way you felt about her. Now, that might have changed in the interim period, but that's the question you should be asking yourself. OP responds, I suppose that's what's been going through my mind since. She's a very sex-positive person and just sees sex as something fun people do. So I know this wasn't a huge value judgment on me she made here by choosing some fun with him at that point. User Red Plasma Official comments, yeah, no, I'd be done. It was so important to her to do that, I doubt she stopped thinking about it even with you now. OP, downvoted. For her, once she's with someone, she's with them. She doesn't see herself as a cheater type. I suppose if you consider that evening in the rain the official start, she's been loyal. User Valuable Marzipan 761 comments, that's brutal. The fact is that the sex was so superior that she needed to squeeze one last session in. I'd bail. Obi responds, we hadn't had sex at that point, so I don't think there was a comparison taking place on sex quality then, but yeah, I have had some insecurity thinking about how good it must have been to hit him up in that moment. Honestly, haven't wanted to probe her on that point. Would rather not know if that was what brought her back to him. User Molson5972 comments, I would also be upset that she meets a dude at a bar and is having sex with him every couple of days, but she made you wait a month plus. This, to me, would be a major incompatibility about sex and being perceived as a guy you can have a family with compared to someone she sexually desires so much. Opie, has your sex life been active these last 2 years? Opie responds, she has a high sex drive, and we have a great sex life. No concerns on that front, but yeah. She did make me wait at the beginning as a relationship check to see how serious I was, although I wouldn't really judge her if she was sleeping around in the first week or so when we barely knew each other. Just wish I didn't find out about this now, to be honest. Sweaty Knee 7425 comments, yeah, that would be a deal breaker for me. People get so wound up on, technically we weren't exclusive, but I personally wouldn't want to be with someone who was fine with hurting me, didn't give a shit about my feelings as long as they could get off on a technicality. Use your feeling just peachy comments. Perfectly said. There's something really gross about this girl's reasoning to me. Like, she just had to squeeze one last passionate bang with someone else before being tied down to OP. I wouldn't be able to get over this personally, and also, if she truly is so sex positive and this wasn't a big deal to her, why did she feel the need to hide it from him for so long? OP responds, I would like to note that she really hasn't taken this as someone who got caught on hiding something. No guilt, since in her mind, there wasn't any cheating, and it doesn't really change the fact that we officially began exclusively dating later that night. If anything, she's taken the attitude of a girlfriend whose boyfriend found out her ex had a big dick or something. Like, it's in the past, and it's an insecurity if I ruminate on it. Comment from Who Wants to Know? How sure are you that this is the full story? Could her plan A have been the other person? Is it possible that she went to see him, had sex, asked him if he wanted to be exclusive, he said no, so she came back to you? OP responds, I legitimately hadn't even thought of this. User LongCause9428 comments, did you guys have sex after she said yes to you? OP responds, no, we did not. She went home after. Hindsight 2020, I'm glad we didn't. Would have made me look back at our first time together a lot differently, but on the other hand, now I'm thinking that she didn't want sex because she had already gotten some. I don't know, not vibing with any of it right now. User ThrowRA Supercod 9654 comments, trying to be open-minded and helpful here because this exclusivity thing comes strangely to me. To me, I wouldn't have been okay with her sleeping with other people at all while we were dating. Unless it was very clear that that was the arrangement. Were you okay with it? I think the fact she doesn't think it was a big deal would show me that we're on very different pages. On the other hand, if she's been the perfect girlfriend since, it's maybe not worth throwing that away over this. Only you can really decide that. I don't think I'd be able to get past it. It just seems like she used a technicality to sleep with someone else, and that wouldn't sit well with me. Or, I suspect, most other people. I'd explain how you feel and ask if she'd really be okay if the roles were reversed. Opie responds, I wasn't aware she was sleeping with a dude at all until now, but I was hardly under the impression that she was exclusive to me after the first date, hence me trying to have the conversation a month in. I wouldn't have been bothered by finding out the dude existed if their last time had been before that convo, and this weird timing thing didn't happen. Final update after 5.5 months, May 18th, 2026. I wasn't planning to come back to this. I posted the original mostly because I was going in circles in my own head and couldn't find a single thread on here that exactly matched what I was dealing with. But when I logged back in, I was surprised to see how many people saw the post, and honestly, the DMs alone were enough to make me type this out. Also found out the post got picked up on other sites, which is a weird feeling. Typing this out on phone, if formatting is weird, I'll fix later. We broke up, a little over a month after the post. I ended it. For a while, it felt like a mistake. Not a I miss her way, more like a constant worry if I just let some insecure macho part of my brain torch a 2-year relationship over something that was actually acceptable. She wasn't a bad girlfriend in many ways. The relationship wasn't bad. That made it harder for me, to be honest. I've got experience in dumping solidly bad girlfriends. What actually happened in that month was a cycle. We'd argue about the hookup, eventually get somewhere that felt like real understanding, and then some random thing would surface it again, and we'd be back at zero. The back and forth quickly got annoying and toxic. But that's not what ended it. Something a few commenters mentioned in the original thread stuck with me, a specific detail I had touched on but hadn't really thought through. I did eventually bring it up with her directly, and she answered honestly, which I'll give her credit for. Before they had sex, she had asked him whether he saw any future between them. Not as a condition to sleeping with him apparently, but just probed, to double check if he was up for that. He said no, and that he was just looking for casual sex. She slept with him anyway, drove to my apartment later that night, and told me she wanted to be with me. I sat with that for a long time. On paper, it changes nothing about the timeline everyone discussed in the last post. She still came back, she still chose to be with me afterwards, but something about the sequence of it just hollowed me out. She went to him first to get a no before choosing me. Not to mention the whole idea of me sitting at my apartment when this all went down. Although on that point, just to be clear, I'm not a little nice guy and him some sexed up alpha male like some of you guys in the DMs were describing. I'm perfectly confident, having honestly gotten too much info from my ex when we talked, that this was simply just another dude in the lineup that she wanted more than me. But all this resulted in me feeling less like a guy she had wanted and desired and started me feeling like a second place trophy. That's probably the most honest way I can put it. For what it's worth, I don't think she's a bad human being. I really don't. But we clearly had completely different wiring around what commitment means and when it starts mattering. She didn't think what she did was a big deal and also seemed to undervalue the emotional value of sex in general in the post-relationship analysis I've been thinking over. Breakup itself was painful. She took it hard initially but seems to be doing fine now. Seemingly better than me from what I've heard from a mutual. I've been pretty numb these last few months, not in a worrying way to be clear, just going through the motions and it's getting better every day. I've had bad breakups before, and I know what the other side of one looks like, so I'm not too concerned. A few people from the original post left some genuinely kind comments, and I wanted to thank you for that. I think the thing I keep coming back to is pretty simple. I just want to be someone's first choice. Hopefully that's out there somewhere. Comments. Be cool, do crime. Oh, wait a fucking minute. Be cool, do crime. That's tough, but you absolutely made the right decision. I would feel sick at the thought of that, particularly what would have happened if he hadn't rejected her. Hope he responds. You worded what I was trying to say in my post even better than I did. Like, if he said yes, would there have been any effort to ping me for another check-in? When we argued this, she tried to tell me that if he had said yes, then she would have had to really think it over and probably would have chosen me, but I came to realize that was total bullshit. Odd Instruction 519 comments, if he had said yes, she'd be with him, but he didn't. Life is full of those little accidents. It doesn't mean she's less into you now. Most people, though, have the brains to keep quiet about such things. OP responds, hey, I get it. I've gotten into relationships where I had to close off some half-started things I had going on myself. I think when I got into those relationships, though, it felt like I was jumping into something more exciting than what the side activity offered me. Clearly, she didn't see me this way when we met. Also, we weren't together anymore, if that wasn't clear. User Ecstatic Reply 3356 comments, sometimes it isn't a matter of right or wrong, but rather what you're personally okay with and able to live with. So sorry this all went down the way it did, but it honestly sounds like this might be for the best for both of you. All the best in your ongoing healing. OP responds, a healthy angle on this. I've been trying to take this one. I'm sure she will take a lot of heat in the minds of people who read the post for something plenty of dudes wouldn't give a shit about. No diss to them at all. I just didn't want to stay with her, given this information. Comment from user CMHWSU02. I was in your same spot, at about that same age. It will get much better. Just be sure to do the self-analysis that time allows. I wish I had done more. You really need to make sure you grow from this. Were there warning signs with her that you missed, and why did you miss them? Very important. Just take the time for self-reflection and get better at all of the mistakes that were made. And then, it'll be time to be back out there. OP responds, In retrospect, I think she telegraphed that she really wanted to keep having fun in her 20s and have hookups rather than be in something more committed. Other than that, maybe more time will tell. User self-abroad 7506 comments, I'll be honest, man, I gave up a long time ago thinking I'm the only dude a girl talks to before the official/exclusive stage. And before, I used to be angry, but then I accepted it. There's always a reason why someone decides to lock it down with you. A little bit of a gray area, however. You know that you weren't exclusive, so it is what it is. At that point in time, you guys weren't official, and honestly, unless there was a baby involved or a possible STD, she should have just kept that to herself. Now, I will say that it's a gray area because if you're planning on locking it down with someone, especially if it's something you're gonna do in the next couple of days, then you really shouldn't be sleeping around with other people because that creates a lot of unnecessary problems and drama. Versus a situation where she so happened to hook up with someone when she just started talking to you. But hey, people are people. Hope he responds. Honestly, in the months since all this went down, I've come to not really worry about the idea of her having sex with the guys as much as it was clear I was the settled for second choice. Like, her sleeping with a dude just signaled to me that he was clearly the goal those days we were moving towards exclusivity. I don't know if you saw my other comment, but near the end, we argued about whether if he had said yes, if it would have been a choice between us in her head or an automatic text to me ending what we had. Now, I feel like after 2 years, I would have gotten an over-the-top, of course I would have thought it over and chose you. But she said she probably would have had to think about it. And she isn't sure how she would have chosen back then, which is kinda bullshit to me because she fucked the guy on a no. I am weirdly getting the impression that a lot of the comments didn't actually read the post and just read the title and called it good. Because a lot of the comments, if you treat them as though they're responding to the title, my girlfriend admitted she slept with someone hours before agreeing to be exclusive, I can't tell if I'm overreacting, what's the move here? A lot of those comments make sense within context of just the title. OP's very poorly worded title, might I add. Because many of the comments seem to be more treating this as if she just wasn't exclusive before he asked her, and missed the entire section and point of the story, where OP had asked her, hey, do you want to be exclusive? Then she fucking left, slept with another guy, and then came back. And then agreed to be exclusive. That alone is already really sketchy, and it's definitely a person-by-person thing if you're willing to forgive your significant other for doing that. But in my eyes, if we shift the context around a little bit, and let's say, like, your 8-year-old comes home from school, and you're like, okay, look, bud, we gotta have a talk about you throwing apples at windows. And the 8-year-old says, okay, but real quick, 1 second. Runs outside, grabs an apple, throws it at the window, then comes back inside. Okay, I'm ready to talk about throwing apples at windows. It's like, yeah, technically we didn't have any rules in place about that yet, but you left mid-conversation about that to go do it. And that's not even getting to the fact that she went to the hookup first to see if there was a future before him being the backup option. She left mid-conversation about becoming exclusive to go see if she had other options, and then when she realized she didn't, then she settled for OP. OP has every right to feel hurt by that. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget, gamer subs, use code ODDS at checkout. Every purchase made supports the channel directly. That's really not an exaggeration either. Pretty much my entire studio upgrade that I'm doing to do facecam content and just a more streamlined workflow is almost entirely being funded by the sponsorship with gamer subs because of just how much you guys actually use code ODDS at checkout. So, thank you to everyone who uses code ODDS at checkout. It's been awesome actually being able to do this upgrade without putting my finances in jeopardy. So thank you, everyone. I really hope that what I end up cooking up in the end is well worth it. Anyways, with that being said, I'll catch you all next time. As for updates, I got carpet cleaned, and I'm beginning the process of taking my desk apart to migrate it to the other area, so that way I can begin painting. So lots of fun.